The Dubai population is booming. It's increased by about 90,000 in a year according to the latest statistics from Dubai.
Hi, I'm Sarah Forster, news editor here at The National, and welcome to this week's edition of A Closer Look. Now, we've been looking at some stats here at The National, and we've been seeing, obviously, the trend that the population in Dubai is going up. But by how much and how fast was the interesting part of that story. And to talk more about it, we've got our reporter John Dennehy in the office with us. Thank you for coming in. So just right off the bat, let's talk about by how much is Dubai's population skyrocketing right now?
The Dubai population is booming. It's increased by about 90,000 in a year according to the latest statistics from Dubai. Now, I think this speaks to two trends. One is long-term and one is more short-term. The long-term trend is there has been obviously a big trend of population increase in Dubai. In the 80s, it was a couple of 100,000. And then the second trend is really the COVID and post-COVID one. The population decreased slightly during COVID, and we saw a lot of people leaving. We saw rents going down a lot. But since then, the city has really rebounded, and the population has increased, and people are really pouring into the emirate to a position where it's now more than 3.5 million, the population.
Yeah, because I think during COVID, everyone wanted to be at home, right? They all wanted to be because of the flights and everything. But because of the way Dubai and the UAE in general handled COVID, I think a lot of those people have since come back, right? So so it's 3.5 million now, an increase of about 90,000 since last year. Can we put that in perspective with anywhere else?
About 10 years ago, the population was about 2.5 million, I think. So it's an increase since that. I mean, London's had the same increase since then, I believe. So it's a significant increase.
So there are obviously lots of reasons why the population is growing. The UAE government make it a very desirable place to live here. There's clearly an eye on the future, a lot of development. I mean, we did a story recently demonstrating that, for example, with schools, they expect a high sort of turnover rate, and whereas they're still getting the incoming pupils, they're not getting the outgoing pupils. So it is also a case of fewer people are leaving. So the main question here is, can Dubai handle it? You know, there's only so many homes, there's only so many buses and trains, and what's the plan?
Yeah, it's a good question. I mean, Dubai has a major urban plan for 2040, and I think it's been interesting from some of us who've been here for quite some time in the region to look back. I remember when I'm old enough to remember when Dubai Metro was launched, and there was lots of talk at the time that no one was going to take the metro. You know, now we can see it's a massive success, and they've actually going to extend it even further. You look at projects like Expo City. I mean, we know it as the place where Expo was on, but it's also, you know, now a whole new community, and you've got a metro extension that's opened up new communities that can now take affordable public transport. In terms of long-term planning, we have had a good glimpse of the urban master plan for 2040, which pinpoints 5 areas in Dubai that are going to be expanded, 5 main ones. That you know, we got Bur Dubai and Dera, which is the heritage. We have Business Bay in downtown, which is sort of the financial. We have Dubai Marina and the JBR, which is the entertainment area. Then 2 new places at Expo City and Dubai Silicon Oasis. We also know there's plans to extend the metro to Mirdif, you know, a massive new community on the outskirts of Dubai. So we also see a huge development like Palm Jebel Ali being rejuvenated.
Which is going to have, I read that they were going to be able to have 250,000 people just on Palm Jebel Ali alone. So even if the population surges by another 1 million, you know, in the next 10 years, a quarter of that could purely go on Palm Jebel Ali. Yeah, and the question is how do you ensure, you know, public transport? How do you ensure facilities and amenities? And these are areas that are pinpointed very much in the urban master plan to try and deal with it. So what are the key areas that are going to need to be developed in order to handle this many more people? We've seen already some of the pressure points. I mean, we know rents are going up significantly, and there's a lot of conversation about that. And projects like Palm Jebel Ali will go hopefully towards alleviating some of the pressure. You're also looking at infrastructure, roads. You're looking at hospitals, schools, which are being addressed in the urban master plan. I get transport is also crucial. You know, I think in the plan it's envisaged that people must be within 800 meters of a public transport hub. And a good way of looking at this is the plan with Etihad Rail right now and how it's going to link up to existing public transport. We're still learning about Etihad Rail a lot, and the passenger service hasn't, of course, been launched yet. But what we do know is that it's going to link up to existing things like the
Dubai Metro, like the tram, like taxis. There's going to be bike stands. We don't know the scope of it yet, or where the stations will be, really, bar the one in Fujairah, but that is contained within that plan. That's a good example of what we can see, I think, from public transport going forward.
It is. It does seem a little bit at the moment like it's non-stop announcements of, especially developments. You know, we just had Oasis by Emaar, which is going to be absolutely enormous. You know, so I think the potential for housing all these people is not going to be an issue. And as you say, there is. I mean, it's called. Is it Vision 2040? Like the government is thinking decades ahead, right?
Especially with the rail project, that I mean, we've been out on the railway to see how it's being built, and we're seeing already how some of the connectivity might work. So once we hear a bit more about the passenger service and how that links up to places like the metro, I think that really kind of underlines some of the vision behind it all.
All right, thank you so much, John. Well, that's it for this week's edition of A Closer Look, brought to you from right here in the National's newsroom. Remember, all of our previous episodes can be found on our YouTube channel. And if you have any suggestions for a future episode, you can leave your comment in the box underneath.